floater from the side is good. What a move by Stokes.
Heck of a move by Jarnell. He just took Dakari Johnson on that play.
Stokes looking, trying to make a move, turns, a little fall away, 10-footer is good. Back to Stokes and he slams.
Whoa.
What a break by Tennessee. And now he fires over Cornette and he hits. Dumps it down low, Stokes works on Cornette, slams. Went right around him on the baseline. Dumps it down low, Stokes. He's got all 6 points. Trying to make a move against Cauley Stein. Comes across the lane and a sweeping hook shot is good with the right hand.
What's going on, Facebook? What's up, YouTube's? Had my mute on. Keep forgetting about that mute, Billy. Can't be forgetting about the mute.
Hey, it's been a while, man. We got to get back in it.
Yeah, I'm off the truck, Jarnell. I don't know if I told you. I'm off the truck. We're doing this full time. And I want to introduce to everybody. I'm going to let Billy introduce our new host of some shows we're going to do. But before we do that, I want to give everybody kind of how we got here. Started out with a camera phone and a YouTube channel, and this crazy truck driver named Catfish thought he could make something out of himself, and he got a legend, Billy Ratliff, to join the show. How I con Billy Ratliff to join the Volunteer Roadshow, I don't know how, but I got him on board. He opened up so many doors. We started really putting out a good product, tried to turn this thing into just a show. We want to turn it into a platform for people to be able to want to get into sports media. And that's where we're going. We're turning it into a platform. And we got this young gentleman. Some of you know who it is. Heck, all the Tennessee fans. The reason, Jarnell, is why I say some of you, because we're overrun on YouTube with Georgia fans and Alabama fans and Florida fans, so they don't keep up with the Vols like they do on Facebook and Twitter. But Billy, I want you to introduce our new host of at the Volunteer Road Show. Bring him on.
Hey, most definitely, man. This is a easy introduction, man. Hey, everybody know my man. Hey, my man Jarnell Stokes, man. Former VFL, former Vol, but hey, still a VFL, and he's still out there, guys. Welcome, Jarnell. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Appreciate the pleasure. It feels good to be in great company. Man, you've done some great things yourself, man. So I'm on path to hopefully live up to the bar that you've set, back in your days,
Well, hey, you don't have to do that, man. You already been through it, man. Hey, once you put on that orange, man, hey, it's there. You already been through it. You royalty. Once you become a VFL, it's what it says. Balls for life, man. So from another brother to another brother, hey, we gonna make this happen, man. I'm just glad to have you on, man.
There you go, man. Appreciate the platform. I'm just excited to be able to give back to Tennessee. I mean, a huge reason why I went to Tennessee was to do things like this. I saw where the alumni and the VFL program and just being responsible as a big brother to the entire state. That's I went to Tennessee for my entire life, not just those 2-3 years.
That's what I want to know. Let's talk about. We'll get into the shows here in a minute, but I want to talk about Jarnell the man. How did you get to Tennessee? Tell everybody where you're from. Well, you maybe even tell them when your first time you remember picking up a basketball, how you chose basketball. Tell us about your life growing up, making it to Tennessee.
Well, yeah, I grew up with a pretty strict parenting, I would say. I would say I grew up in a bad community. But first and foremost, I was somewhat challenged mentally when it comes to being able to, make good grades in class or communicate. I couldn't really articulate. I rode the end of the bench my entire career up until the 10th grade. Then all of a sudden, I went from this trash player to now. I say trash now so easily, but back then it was terrible, man. I was, I had a pretty rough upbringing. So to say now that I've won gold medals and McDonald's top 10 All-American, being recruited by Bruce Pearl back when he was at Tennessee, to 4 or 5 years in the NBA. I mean, it's something that I couldn't have imagined as a kid. I mean, my dad, who used to wake me up 5 a.m. every morning and say, if I couldn't run the floor of the game before, he'd say, get up and run. You need to be able to move, in big size 20 feet in the 8th grade, but you can't, be strong enough to, impose your will in the paint, small things like that. So now I look at a new NBA, and, what I grew up in was a lot of toughness and physique, but now it seems to be more about skill and finesse. And with that being said, I'm still pursuing the NBA. I was with the Nuggets like 2 years ago. And that's kind of like 3-4 years ago. And this is when I started growing all this hair out. You look at pictures, I only had a fro. But I was in a situation where I was in the worst position in my entire life. For the first time in my life, since that middle school journey, I had an injury. I didn't get an injury at Tennessee, knock on wood. And when I was with the Nuggets, I ended up in a position where I had an identity crisis. Like, I went from freaking, going to the gym every day to now I got to go to social media and talk to family and realize, like, what am I? Once my body stops working, like, what is there to do? Like, is there more to life? I thought it was all basketball. So, I go through this self-identity crisis. I'm in a hole. People don't want to talk to me. Family, don't treat me the same, like the big Jarnell Stokes star that you are. And I realize I tweet certain things that's off the court, that's not about basketball. Fans don't really corral around it on Twitter, So I realized most of my fans only liked me for basketball. So with that being said, I had to completely change. I had to go through a lot of suffering. It looks, a bit different. I hope I don't look too much different, but I had to grow my hair out because for all my life, I had been told to put in toxins and I've been told to cut my hair. And for the first time in my life, I put my foot down and I said, you know what? Just because I was rolled a ball when I was a kid doesn't mean that has to be my destiny. I was suffering. I was going through so much pain to where I had to go back and realize that, okay, now I see why I got in a fight at Tennessee. Now I see why, I couldn't lose weight, or now I see why, I had these type of mental challenge issues. I had, parenting that did X, Y, Z. So I went through this stage where I really peeled off some bad parts of me, and it hurt like hell. But now I'm in a position where I can give back and do what I always wanted to do for Tennessee, make it about more than basketball. Literally, that was my goal. Like, you can ask Bruce Pearl, Coach Martin, that was the challenge to get me there. How can we make this bigger than basketball? And I hate to say that that was the number one thing, but now I'm really seeing the love. Like, seriously, just having this platform and being able to talk back and, talk about other things outside of basketball. I hope I can give. I really feel as if this is guaranteed value here at the Volunteer Roadshow.
I hope so. And
yeah.
I've heard Billy's recruitment story, but why did you choose Tennessee? Because I know you were a big-time recruit. I know Kentucky knocked on your door a few times. And
yeah.
Who all knocked on your door, and why did you pick Tennessee?
Yeah, great question, because, it was Coach Calipari at Kentucky, Pashner at Memphis, UConn, Calhoun, Florida with Billy Donovan, Arkansas with Anderson. But there was UCLA even. I would say that I was literally this close to going to Kentucky. Like, it was a been there. I mean, I couldn't just pick a hat, so it was almost like I did just randomly select a hat. And Coach Cal was such a strong recruiter, and he would just literally say things like, this is all about the NBA. His mindset was making this a 1-2 year process, as opposed to what he would literally tell me about going to other schools, is that you're selling yourself short. So I would, talk to Bruce Pearl, and, literally, I don't know if people know this, but I drove like 6 hours from Memphis to an elite camp. In 3 hours there, my truck just freaking blew up. Like my brother's truck, which was a Jeep, it just blew up out of nowhere. And then at that moment, I realized, like, I really want to be in Knoxville right now. Like, I was stuck in Jackson, and I had the opportunity to go back to Memphis. And, I'm in the 10th grade being recruited by Bruce Pearl. And there was nothing more in my mind than wanting to be on an orange and white campus. Like, seriously, I knew then that, wow, this is something special. Like, I don't even get this excited about, going to NBA games. Seriously. So from there, that was Bruce Pearl's reign, and I had secretly committed then, within my family and my trainer friends, and even Bruce Pearl kind of knew that I was definitely coming to Tennessee. But when he left, then it became a Kentucky, Florida thing. I must say, with Memphis, I didn't like the chemistry there. I also wanted it to be a state-wide thing as opposed to just Memphis, and now I'm able to do things all across the state. But going back, when I had Coach Martin coming to the scene, I was like, who is this guy? Missouri State? You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of fans probably were just wondering, why the heck did this guy get the job? So I didn't really give him a chance starting out. But then I would say around that time, that same exact time, I had a situation come about where I transferred from a school, and I just wanted to be around my grandma. She was sick, and it was the local home school. So I used to travel like 30 minutes to go to school. And then I decided, let me just go to the neighborhood school and be around my family and friends more. But I got a call from Central, my old school, and they told me that literally, if you don't come back, we're going to make your life hell. We're going to make sure you don't get admitted to transfer. And then they started challenging me about, this Jordan brand, this McDonald's brand, where the school receives $20,000 to $50,000 if I attend those events. I didn't know that. I'm just a kid trying to go home and see my grandma and, be around my family for my last year before I go off to college. And I got ruled ineligible, literally a freaking 2-3 month process. And Coach Martin was like my best friend throughout that entire process. I mean, he showed me that you're more than an athlete. He showed me some things about community, and still some light to this day that I learned from being under Coach Martin that has really helped me become a leader. And I personally believe, and I know I only say this because so many people put a high standard on money, but it's in my best belief, and I've already kind of proven it, but I can make 10 times more money not playing basketball. I seriously play ball because it's a meditation now. It's like it's a way to get my mind away from all this mess going on off the court. So with this being said, just being at Tennessee and having the experience of a leader really teach me about life has really helped me connect the dots going through situations like I did in Denver and self-identity crisis. So now I found myself, I couldn't help people back in Tennessee. I couldn't help at all. I was shy. I was an introvert. All I thought about was getting to the NBA and getting the hell out of Knoxville. That's all I could think about. Let's be honest. I could barely afford to take my girl on a date. So just putting you in perspective of all the fans that used to run up to me, and I would just turn my head. I was pissed, and I didn't know who I was pissed at. But with that in mind, I'm so glad I did it, because now I'm able to, gain respect from people around Tennessee. And I have a few multi-million-dollar projects going on around the Tennessee Nashville, Knoxville area. So hopefully it really brings value in the way that we're all planning to. And I'm able to one day, like I planned before going to Tennessee, I want to run for governor. Like, seriously, that's my mission. So it's so much further than basketball. And I'm so glad that I'm able to live it and really prove it as opposed to just become another athlete.
Well, we're glad you're on the Volunteer Roadshow. We got great things in store for you handling shows. But I got a question. What's the difference between playing at Thompson Bowling Arena and in the NBA? You've played for what, the Heat, the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, I think maybe Portland. Tell me the difference between the NBA and maybe the difference between the season, like the traveling and all that stuff.
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference about being in games is the fan support. Like, the Vol fans are just freaking crazy. I'm saying, like, they literally bleed orange. Like, some fans just, would fall for, even if Kentucky and all these star players in the building, they're fighting for their own. And I respect Tennessee fans for that. You don't really get that feel in the NBA. It's more business, if anything. Most fans are they have higher standards, I would say. But just being in the NBA and being in college, the other biggest difference is being surrounded by so many uncommon people. I mean, I literally, when I first got in the locker room, I was next to Tayshaun Prince, Vince Carter, Z-Bo, Marc Gasol. These were the people that I, shared lockers with because they made it, bigs and guards. But I was overwhelmed, like one of the best feelings in my life, because I could just then sit back and realize, like, I used to pay $4 or $5 when the Grizzlies freaking sucked. I'm talking about the worst team in the league. And I would go in the nosebleed section and just stare at the players. Like what does it feel like to be an NBA player? Like, how did you do this? Like, can I? I just literally just mesmerized. Didn't even watch the game, didn't care about the game or basketball. It was just, I'm watching players on the bench, like, how do you drink Gatorade? Stupid random questions. And so the biggest difference with the NBA and college is that everyone is driven towards a goal. I mean, you get around these people who are uncommon, and sometimes they're a bit too driven. I mean, some like Ricky Hazen, for instance, you're surrounded by people that have so much money, so too much time on their hands. I mean, we work like, 2-3 hours a day, and then what, so with that being said, I did experience some weird things. I've seen some weird things on the road, just having to, go pick up things for certain players. I mean, imagine being teammates with Z-Bo. I mean, that's my dog, and we're still friends to this day, but I got some stories that I can't get off my mind. So, I can't just take it off. So it just, I'm scarred from a lot of these events that have happened in the NBA. But with that being said, could I just say money is the biggest difference, in short, from being in the NBA and the NCAA? I mean, it's hard to like college, to be honest. I really, and I push hard for the NCAA to give players money based on their interests and how much they're bringing to the organization. I mean, there needs to be some type of algorithm, or I seriously see an exodus, like some type of change happening soon, whether that's the G League situation or another situation. The Big Three may decide to do something. I don't know, but it's a sad situation. It's literally, in short, slavery. I can't really stress enough, and I hope I don't offend anyone or no one labels me when I say things like that. But we're working hard, and we're in a position where we're given an education that's not even worth what it's being paid for. Once you get out, can you even make something of that? And, I'm not the type to make excuses for people, but I like to see both sides on the table. You can call me a true journalist. I'm not one-sided. I see where the NCAA is coming from, where they don't want to pay all these athletes. But that's something that really, really touches me, and I hope to be a huge part of that change in the future.
There you go, Billy.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, Billy.
That's amazing, man. I love hearing those things, man. You sound like a robot with me. It sounds like you repeated everything I've always said.
Yep.
And and I love it, man. That's going to be a great addition to what we're doing, Jarnell, man. So I'm glad you're part of this, man. So welcome, man. Welcome.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I'm definitely going to keep it real. Just, I'm not doing it, just for myself or anything. It's really just the fact that I feel bad. Being a leader once at Tennessee with the Vols, I had nothing to give to people. When I tell you I was full of anger, I would walk into sponsorship meetings like, why am I here? That coat costs more than my freaking, dorm room that I'm struggling to pay off because I just ate too many cheeseburgers. Now all my money is dried up for the month, Yeah. So small things like that, man, is why I now work hard to give back because, I'm in a position where I do have a platform and I can't thank enough how valuable this would be to talk not only sports, but community as well.
Yes. Well, here, I'm going to ask you a question, man. And I'm quite sure you've been asked this question so many times and it's all over the sports world. And what do you think, man? How do you feel about college players being paid?
Yeah. I think, I actually read Coach Calipari's book, and I commend him for coming out and saying the things that he do. And I think randomly he, sometimes gets picked on by the NCAA because he does handle things correctly. From what I experienced, I mean, look, I'm not going to say I was looking for something, but there were people around me who was looking for handouts, and he was straight up. Like, he came to me. He said, look, I don't do that. If you want to go to the NBA, though, let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
Come on, Jarnell. Calipari cheats. He's the biggest cheater in the NCAA. Come on. This is Volunteer Roadshow. This ain't Big Blue Nation.
Hey, he may be. I'm just talking about my experience. But has he ever got caught on anything?
No, I'm just playing with you.
Oh, okay. Honestly, I'm not sure. So I looked into his book. And the case that he was making is just how much money the basketball and football and maybe like one or two players on a baseball team, maybe one or two players on the golf team, how much they're bringing to the table when it comes to media and when it comes to, their game ticket attendance. And with that being said, the NCAA is making the case that, it should be an equal policy where all players get paid the same. Personally, I think that there is a situation going on right now where a lot of players are considering a different route. And these platforms are currently being built where, we're just a part of that generation where entrepreneurs see the opportunity and they attack. So I would say to the NCAA, it really puts us in a bad situation. Like, how do we support a university that would be open to paying, $10 million to build a facility, but we can't give, $100,000 to our brothers that's, in the communities. And, we see these low income neighborhoods once we go there. I mean, we may not have seen it on our visit. So, I feel like a lot of players would be in a greater headspace if they were given this opportunity. And I'm just saying ways to improve the NCAA. It's a given that players would be, in a better position. But the NCAA would be in a position where they could, rule the next generation and the generation after that, as opposed to their coming about competition. And once you look at the numbers and, how much they're making in particular with media, let's forget about game attendance. I mean, you can literally take one row of game attendance and give it to your best player, and that's more than his monthly contract. But in particular, just the media, if we just take away their contract, literally, I saw a stat, and I can't really quote it because I don't want to be wrong, but literally 1 to 2% of that contract makes up what all NCAA players make their entire time in college. It was just astounding that it's been this greedy. Like, why hasn't there been change? And I think this will be the last generation that allows that to happen. I can really see an exodus and people going against the status quo. And that's what I do through all my projects. I own a superfoods business. I own a production company. And, I also do some things with the community. But in short, my job is literally to question assumptions. I mean, I see there being a fight. I don't represent black or white, left or right, any of that, party BS. I'm all about fighting evil. I'm good versus bad, right versus wrong. And, right now it would be right for the NCAA to stop being as greedy. But, I can see why they're doing so. I mean, they don't want to start a whole war where, bench players. Do you guys believe that, players off the bench should get paid too, or should there just be star players? I think that's where we are right now.
Well, I'll tell you this here, I coming from where I played back in my time, Jarnell, I'm going to give you a number that I'm going to throw out at you based off when I played at Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
So the kind of money that I was talking about, that all I needed, which we did what I call was ball out when we got finished playing. All I needed, like $50 to go ball out, and the amount of money that we received, of course, I think it'd be like $20 after a game if it was home grain they gave us because they couldn't feed us or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we only received, as a whole, if I live off campus, and I'm going to tell you this number, it's going to shock you now. If I lived off campus, my check was $499.
And you was paying the off-campus bill too?
You heard me, huh? You heard me. Now that number went up an extra $100 during the summer.
Oh man, that's terrible.
So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's only like right now. What is it, like 800, 900?
Yeah, I think it went up. I think it went up a couple hundred. I mean, it's still not enough for where for to have fun with it too. I mean, you can't live off that situation.
What Billy's saying is he's old, because figuring for inflation, it's about $2,000.
Bobby, put it like this here: the stuff still costs the same back then.
Oh man, that's sad to hear, dude. That's really sad, because you can literally, like, as an athlete, just have one bad day where you eat like 2 pieces or something. You buy your family some food, you see some shoes or a shirt, and boom, there go your whole check.
Man.
Yeah.
And that's why, with me and my teammates, man, we always found like a big 4-bedroom apartment or house or something, and splitting it 4 ways made it a little bit easier, but it still wasn't enough, man.
I had that. What'd you say?
No, go ahead.
No, I was saying I had some pride in doing that way right there. Like, it don't matter how much money I had, I wasn't gonna share. I wasn't gonna share a room with nobody. I remember my first day on campus. Literally, I knew I was gonna be in some shit. I'm 17 years old, and they put me in a room with Yemi, Mac, and Julie. I don't know if you know who that is. That's my African teammate who, doesn't always take care of his hygiene. And with that being said, I raised hell. I was just like, man, I can't do it, man. I just, I remember calling coach and was just calling the assistant, like, man, this isn't what I signed up for. Like my word specifically, that's the trigger word, First day on campus. So, they moved me into another room. People come, I'm talking, it's like 9 p.m. And they move in rooms. And once I get into the other room, I realize, oh, shit, I don't have any money. I forgot that, cafeteria closes at 7, 8 p.m. So I had to, I called and I told them my situation. And they said, we can't do anything about this. We may be able to work out a job for you where you can go pick up some leaves at the sponsor house and, then maybe we can, help you out. But, and I did that one time and that was shit. That was some tough change. So I quit that. But just going back to the first day, I had to call my mom, man. I had literally, Mom, can you buy me some pizza? And I just remember just how terrible that felt, man. I was just like, I cannot wait. So I was counting the days from there. Anybody that stopped that progress, I don't care if it was my teammate, my girl, coach, compliance, anybody that stopped me from getting out of that hell of a situation was my enemy.
Love it, man. I've been through all that. I know what you're saying, man.
Yeah, I know.
And that was part of being a volunteer, man.
That was part of it. Yeah, that's what you really don't hear, man. That's
exactly. Also, a lot of people, they don't realize that what the athletes actually go through to be able to, get that scholarship that we get. It's a full-time job, man. I remember when I went back and I became, an assistant on the strength and conditioning, and I remember, watching these kids work out and stuff, and I start thinking to myself, how in the heck did I do this stuff? I'm like, did I do all this? And of course, I'm asking my strength coaches, that's just like, yeah, Worm, you did every bit of this and more. I'm like, come on, man. When did I have time to do this, man? And sure enough, and they asked me, when do you have time? I said, hey, probably if I skipped the class or if I missed the workout, that's when I had time for myself. But
very
it was
true.
rare that I did that. So
very true. Now I give it up to college though. They did show me one thing more than anything in the world, and that's discipline. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I feel like I wonder if school is teaching people enough creativity, and it kind of teaches people to work as opposed to think and own a business and work around taxes. You don't have to pay taxes here in 2020. Let's just be real. I hope they don't come and get me for that, but there are ways around it, And personally, I think Uncle Sam is a bit selfish with how he's distributing the wealth. So I'd rather give it to business and people and charities anyway. But just going to your point, man, I think college has their structure and how they discipline you and how they teach you. The 6 a.m. to then you go to school and then your mentor, then another practice on top. It's grueling. And if you can literally find happiness through all that shit for free, you're ready, So now I apply those same strategies to when I'm trying to learn new skills and do multitask. We were literally student athletes, and now I'm a business athlete. So I'm in a position where, I have to apply that discipline. But, I still feel as if college is somewhat a bit of last generation, and if they don't get it together, they might want to look out, because there are some entrepreneurs and people right now planning a better way, and innovation always wins. But I don't want to take away from all the discipline and lessons and ethics that I gained from being on the college campus every day.
Let me ask you a question. We've had Ron Slay on, and I've talked to Ron Slay, big basketball player. But he was big buddies with all the football players, according to Billy. Did y'all hang out with the football players as a basketball team, or was it segregated? Did y'all hang out? Did y'all know each other?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we knew a couple. I knew a couple football players. Really, it was like, and I don't want this to sound weird, but it was like the top basketball players hung out with the top football players. I'm not sure where the baseball golf players were, but that's pretty much how it was. Like one of my best friends was AJ Johnson. Another guy was Justin Hunter. I really would say that, what's his name? Nelson Neeson. He was the running back. I also was friends with Kamara. I mean, a lot of people would, say that it was more of a class thing, but I personally got along with people who were just driven, people who wanted to make more than college, people who also saw that, this NCAA system could be a lot better, So that's, but then there were also those times where it was like, oh shit, we have to go see our trainer and we have to run by all the football players just to get there. And it was like, oh, what are we going to see this time? Because they were always, 10 times more reckless. I don't want to offend Billy, but when you're in the cold tub and then 3 big ass linemen just come jump in the pool, stuff like that annoys you. So next time you think twice about training and recovering with the football team. But other than that, I can definitely see a difference in mindset. But I would say it was more of a class thing than football, basketball.
Does that sound about right, Billy?
Well, I mean, it was different back then, man. Everything was different, man. You got to understand, man. The football team was winning, man. Everything was winning back then. So, I mean, the party didn't get started until the football players got there, man. So, and then when Jarnell, be different. The party didn't start until the basketball players got there. It was different, It's just different eras in time, man. If you're winning, man, everybody's gonna have a good time, man. So that's the difference when it comes to the athletes, though, man. Because me as a football player, man, and we was cool with every sport on campus, man. I mean, it didn't matter who it was. I mean, heck, we was cool with the sororities. We was cool with everybody, man. It didn't matter. I mean, the neighborhood. I mean, the east side, west side. We was just cool with everybody, man. It was all about having fun, man. That's all it was back when I played, man. And Slay, I tell you that every day, man. He's like, hey, the football team kept it live, man. I mean, that's what it was all about, having fun, man. That's the way it was.
Yeah, I kept it live for the recruits too, man. Just me being 10 years old. Yeah, I remember. I'm seriously, like, I might have been sold. I'm not sure how much you and your, run at Tennessee played into this, but I was a huge football fan. Like, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a Tennessee football player. And, I just grew up and happened to play basketball, but I wonder how much that Brandon, everything y'all did around the organization, around the state of Tennessee, I wonder how much that played into, the basketball team later having a resurrection. I mean, just throwing that out there. That was huge. What team were you on? Because I remember I watched the boy that I know I watched Peyton. I watched what team you on? I'm trying to think back some names.
My last year at Tennessee was 99-2000.
Okay. Nice. Okay. And that's who was on that team?
So my quarterback was Peyton, 97, all the way through 97, and then T. Martin throughout my rest of the career there.
Oh, man, you was there. That was the golden years, man.
Exactly. Man. So now you see what I mean.
I'm jealous, dog.
So I'm telling you, man, we didn't have there was no such thing as an off day, man. I mean, every day of the week, there was something going on in Knoxville.
I know. Who you think is a better quarterback, T. Martin or Peyton? I know you get this question a lot.
I mean, overall, Peyton was the better quarterback, but T was way before his time, man. You got to talk about what's going on in the NFL right now. With some of the quarterbacks now, that's who T. Martin was. Russell Wilson. That was T. Martin back then. It's so much have changed. With a lot of coaches will use the philosophy of the old school football days. Man, it would be tough for people to hold down a Nebraska back when I played if they brought that same system today. Everybody used what I call the spread option stuff now. That was Nebraska back then up under the center.
Dang, that sounds so much like basketball, just how it's getting more.
Exactly. So,
I wonder.
You think about like the way basketball is now, you know, they call it small ball.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We did that back in the day too. I mean, you just put somebody that can jump at center and still be able to run and shoot and go get it.
That's what's up, man. Because I wonder, like, you know, you talk about during that time period, what was it like off the court? Like, I remember another team that kind of branded in my heart and made me want to come to Tennessee was Dwayne Chisholm, Tyler Chisholm, Chris Lofton, all those guys, and, you know, even all the trouble they got. You know, that shit was kind of cool to me, to be honest. So what was it like for you guys during that time?
I mean, it was the same way, man. We know our limits. You know, we had people that kept that situation under control, man. I mean, we had kids that got in trouble too, man. We knew how to stay out of the trouble. You know what I'm saying? We didn't take it to that far. You know, we associated ourselves with the student body. You know, we wasn't we wasn't segregated with no way, no fashion, man. I'm serious, man. It was complete fun, man. I mean, and don't get me wrong now, we still had challenging times where, you know, people couldn't stand football players or whatever because they thought we had it made and we got everything handed to us. It wasn't like that, man. If they only knew what we went through to get to where we was at, they would realize what's going on today, what's going on back then. The only difference is everybody can see it now because it's being recorded.
Yeah, I bet it was harder.
We didn't have social media.
Yeah, exactly.
We had beepers.
They had Commodore 64, Jarnell.
Hey, but Billy, what was it like getting pulled over by the cops back then? Because you know, I recently got pulled over, and man, I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Jarnell, it was the exact same way it is today, man. I mean, you know, they didn't if they didn't know who you were, it was the exact same way, man. And it's nothing's changed, man. I'll be honest with you, man. I mean, I've been held at gunpoint before, man. I've been profiled. I've been pulled over and stuff until they pull up and realize who I am and knew that I play ball. And then that's when they realize, okay, this guy, he's a good guy or whatever. And it sucked, man. I mean, I've seen so many situations like that. So it ain't too much. There's not much change when it came to those situations. You know, I'm just glad and pray that I play ball, you know, because I've seen a lot of situations that didn't happen that way. So, and it sucks, you know, it sucks that I have to do it that way, but that's the only way to make it, man.
Yeah, like that's something that I really just despise. Just being honest.
You won't understand it until it actually happens to you, man. And it's you know, I mean, of course, you know, I grew up, you know, in Mississippi. So I've seen everything from top to the bottom and stuff. So when I got to Tennessee, I mean, it was easy for me to process or whatever, because I had seen it before, you know. You know, the only difference that I had when I got to Tennessee, you know, it was a culture shock to me because, you know, where I'm from was predominantly black. And you talking about when I got to Tennessee at age 16, dropped off as a young man and never been away from his family before. You're talking, you know, 8.5 hours away from home. And I remember the first time going to class at the University of Tennessee, Jarnell, and I had never been lectured to. I've always been taught, you know. I've never been like, they talk to you and you process it, you go home and come back and you write a paper and bring it back. I never had that. And then plus you got to think of me being, sometimes I'll be the only black person in my class. So me and my man, I'm like, man, they ain't trying to teach me. You know, and I remember going back, telling Miss Jackson, stuff like that. And you know, and it was a culture shock. It was tough, man, for me, man, until I understood what was really going on, man. It was hard for me here. You know, it was really a true culture shock for me.
That was probably the hardest thing for me at Tennessee too. Just thinking back, you know, just coming from Memphis, and you know, I went to public school, so all my life, I really hadn't experienced racism because I lived in my own bubble. I was always, I don't know if I was taught this, but indirectly, I was just always looking the other way, never wanted to communicate. You know, if I saw a white person, I was just kind of nervous to even speak because I was, you know, my English was just too broken, you know. So then I go to Tennessee and I'm put in this position where I always have to be on camera and shit. I'm like, I'm always having, you know, after games, like, what is this? Like, why are there still 300 fans waiting to hear me talk? You know?
Right.
So I'm just as nervous, man. I understand exactly what you went through and just seeing it now, you know, seeing a lot of athletes. And this is, you know, another reason why I'm somewhat coming into myself and wanting to speak up more. I see a lot of athletes today and they're trying. Like, trust me, Tennessee is somewhat trying better than most universities, but they're giving athletes platforms to speak that can't really articulate and give back to the level that the community needs. So I can see this as an opportunity for alumni to then step in. But with that being said, man, I can be a testament to these kids at these universities that don't really, that haven't come from this background. And I can see why a lot of fans somewhat discriminate and see that other side in us as far as, you know, that animal instinct, whatever you want to call it. And that just really comes from not being around this culture. So for a lot of us, Knoxville is just a different culture. And now that I've gone through it and I can see the other side, I'm so glad it happened. I mean, I was uncomfortable all the time, like coming outside of my dorm room. I didn't know, you know, who I was going to run into. So it was almost like I had to wear a different hat all the time. And now that, you know, hat feels pretty comfortable now, you know? So I'm able to exceed in so many different cultures. I mean, I can even go to China now and freaking stand out, you know? Like, so with that being said, man, Tennessee was a great experience. You know, just looking back, I learned so many tools that I can take and use to this day.
Well, those of y'all that are just now tuning in, this is VFL Jarnell Stokes. He played from, 2012 to 14, I believe, somewhere right through there. All SEC
Yep.
player, played for Conzo Martin, who I think was an underrated coach. I love Martin. I hated to see him go. I've heard his life story. I don't know if you've heard his life story, how his mother used to take him in St. Louis to go look at houses for sale in really nice neighborhoods just to see what you could do if you worked real hard. He's got a great story, and man, I'd love to have him on the show someday. But that's going to segue into kind of why Jarnell is joining the Volunteer Roadshow. Yeah, he's going to talk about basketball on a basketball show, but he really wants to give back in a positive way to discuss social issues, health, fitness, and we're talking about some of these social issues right now, and maybe we could segue into that. And I just had a question, just as Catfish has a question, not as a part of Volunteer Roadshow, but just as a human being. What would you think the difference is between an African American at Tennessee and a ball player? How much do you think your life would have changed if you weren't dunking and posterizing Kentucky players? How much do you think your life would change?
You know, I feel bad for a lot of the people there because I've never been in that situation. So I always putting myself in their shoes. At times, it's hard for me to see what it's like. I mean, I'm living in this corporate world where people see me and they jump up and down. But now I'm in a position where I'm in a whole different world. You know, I walk past people and they don't know who the hell Jarnell Stokes is. I'm just this big black guy with a lot of hair. So with that in mind, I see that first instinct being, you know, that fear that, now let me grab my kids. You know, this guy might snatch me up, you know, not knowing who I am, judging me before they even see or understand my character and my morality. I felt, you know, maybe even back then it was worse, you know, in college, dealing with some of the ignorance that we had to see I definitely hold that in my heart where I know that I have never ever experienced what they felt until I have, stepped foot outside the NBA, outside of my Tennessee bubble, and realized that when I walk around here and like now I'm in the mountains, I'm just a black guy. So I'm a runner. And, I see stories like Ahmaud Arbery. I sprint. I run miles every day. That's how I meditate. Now I don't have a gym, so I'm backed up, man. I have to run just to get, that feeling of, joy, like I'm still back at Thompson Bowling Arena throwing down buckets. But, I run into situations where people ask me, who are you? Where are you going? But they don't know how financially and spiritually sound I am. So I now can feel what I couldn't feel for them back then. And, I always thought people were making excuses and being a defeatist and victimizing themselves using the system. But there really is a subconscious racism weighing over America that we can't get rid of. But if, they knew, similar to my buddies out in China, they treat me like LeBron out there because I'm, the best player on the best team right now for the past 2 years. So, but, once I go to the mall and I'm around people that don't understand basketball and wouldn't care for a lick, I'm just this scary black guy that could potentially kidnap their kids, So I wonder how it's treated on job interviews and when cops pull you over and they don't see that this guy played ball and I can't just Google him. I literally had cops say, what do? Do you, trying to hint that do you play sports? And I'm like, yeah, I played with the Nuggets. I did this and that just to get them off my back. And they said, can we Google you? Then they get hella excited once they see that they can Google you and they're around a celebrity. It's weird, man. It's weird. But I do feel now more than anything then that I'm not this huge LeBron James walking around campus.
Well, you said something about when you were going through high school, you were kind of in a bubble. You didn't see any white folks at all. So you were
Mm-hmm.
scared when you finally came out of it. You said that you felt like the whites are scared of you. I wonder how much of this is just we just need to talk, and that's kind of why we brought you on to Volunteer Roadshow, where we could just talk
Yeah.
this thing out because I think a lot of it may be media induced and just
Mm.
a lot of stereotypes. Now there's some bad people out there, but I think we just need to talk it out. Do you think that is something that might be playing into effect, that we just might be scared about what we heard and not what we've experienced?
You're right on, man. I would say because the leadership works both ways, to be honest. I think we have to hold both of our communities accountable. I mean, I hate to say this, and I hope I don't get in trouble saying this, man. Please just block the show if this is wrong. But I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in Michael Jordan, to be honest. I mean, as a business owner now, I grew up a fan of Jordan. I mean, he was the man. I would be that guy willing to sit in line and spend all my money just to buy some shoes. But in his company just gave $100 million to the cause of, Black Lives Matter in the community. But I wonder how much more he can give. Like physically, he's given his all. I mean, let's just throw that out there. I mean, financially, he's given a lot, but I'm talking mentally and spiritually. I mean, he's selling a product that's killing the community, literally selling and promoting materialism, something that Malcolm X and these leaders that's been assassinated would have really, really fought. I mean, if you hear Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, they called people out. And now we're just living in this generation where it seems as if most of our leaders are paid and they're puppets, and it's a paper trail situation where they assassinated all of our great leaders. And then on top of this, you talk about cops in Hollywood, the leadership from the police department, you have to understand that this is a group of people that originated in the 1800s. Literally, their first name was called the Slave Patrol. Like, so this leadership, this omen, this style of performance, whatever you want to call it, has trickled down. And now we're reaching a standpoint where a society is evolving past that systematic, what I would call oppression. I wonder, I'm not a fan of defunding or abandoning the police, but I think we should invest more in the people. I think with more opportunities, we can fight crime. And that's one of my biggest issues right now, just as a taxpayer, as someone that genuinely cares. I think giving more opportunities will fight crime more than patrol. And number two, these cops also have to deal with their leaders in Hollywood. I mean, I literally write, like, my passion, and I don't say this much because I'm 6'9", 250 pounds. So to say I write and do things like that sounds like a punk. But I understand propaganda to a T. Like, and what's going on right now isn't even doing the cops justice. I mean, what you see on social media is helping the people and it's exposing the cops. And they've responded with more law and order. But I'm talking about I'm talking about the Hollywood movies like American Gangster and, you know, all these things, rappers, you know, glorifying killing cops and taking the standpoint as our leaders, as the cops leaders on American Gangster who does criminal activity and gets rewarded for it. As, you know, those movies where the black guy's always the first guy getting killed, and now you see, you know, black innocent lives being killed. I see these things and I conceptualize it to where, okay, this cop just isn't mad at me or anything personal. It's a situation where, okay, he might have just grown up on Hollywood or had a leader that is a bit racist. You know, he's maybe trying to do the right thing. So when I'm in cop stops and when I'm stopped or being judged wrong, I try to take all that into consideration. And like you said, sit at the table. I ask for education. You know, don't make fun of me. Let's talk and let's understand each other a little more. So I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to give a more enlightened perspective as opposed to what we're seeing to this day where someone would, you know, get a bit sensitive and emotional about someone injustice when it's really indirectly Hollywood and leadership. I mean, it can go as deep as you want to go when it comes to these assassinations and paper trails. But I'm open for any questions, man. This is something that really touches my heart, and it really resurrected it these past couple weeks, seeing what's been happening.
Well, one of the things that I really like to see out of some of the shows you're going to do on this topic is where both sides will actually listen instead of having a preconceived notion where this is how it is, I'm right, my way's right, and just listen to each other. That's what I want out of this thing, is both sides can listen. It's like what you said about the cops. I've got a lot of police in my family. Now, we don't get along because I'm a trucker, and I don't like them giving tickets to truckers. But that's beside the point. I don't like it when I look down out of a helicopter view of a TV shot on a chase, and the cops look just like the Army. The militarized cops. I don't like, if you can't tell the difference between the 1st Infantry and the LA police, we got problems. Because that's not what policing is about, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's a huge one, man. You look into spending and just what's going on with our tax dollars. In most cities, in most states, almost the police spending makes up 30 times more than any other field. I'm talking about, we got health issues. We have education issues. We have future of tech and, you know, different, you know, mechanisms to help people and, you know, psychologically with, you know, TV and things like that. There's so many different ways you can attack making a nation greater than just, you know, giving all our money to the police to buy more riot gear. You know what I'm saying? Just to scare us. Why not use that money, those painters and cleaners, and hire people to go clean the communities? Because, I mean, honestly, I mean, look at the communities. If you see shit, you more than likely will be shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not the type to victimize, but you know, I am very concerned with where tax dollars are going, and it seems like most of the spending is on patrol and to scare people, like you just said.
Now, when you talked about, you said you got pulled over, and was that in Colorado where you played for the Nuggets, or was that in another state? Did they know who you were when you got pulled over, or were you just
It's
another
been a few
average
times.
Joe?
Yeah, well, yeah, you're another average Joe until they've called all their buddies over, and then they ask for your ID. You know, when I got pulled over, it was a cop that literally saw me in the gas station, and we walked. I'm talking about eye to eye. I looked at him for like 3 or 4 seconds. I don't know what he got from me, but he trailed me 5 minutes down the road and said I was speeding in the 25 miles per hour zone. So I couldn't justify whether I was or not. But once he got to the car, he then, you know, called all his buddies. I'm talking like 6 on one. And I'm recording. He was asking me to stop recording. So it wasn't until 45 minutes later that he decided to verify whether or not I played ball, because I never brought it up. I didn't want to bring up that point just to prove my point that I'm just a nice guy. I'm just a human being. I'm more than an athlete. You know, I own businesses. I do different things, and I know my rights. So when, you know, they were trying to catch me up and have me do certain things that fits county policy, but I'm talking like I know law. So, you know, that situation got, you know, de-escalated pretty quick, but I feel for someone who, you know, don't really know their rights and just nervous as shit, you know, just having to do some type of DUI test, nervous. You know, and you would think like, oh, this guy's nervous because he is holding something. He's doing something wrong. No, he's nervous because he wakes up every morning and sees someone killed by police, you know? So I personally was a bit nervous myself. So I hit the record button and I got to read my rights, man. I even said, you know what, you know, before I do that, let me just call a lawyer, and they kind of backed off. So,
well, I'm gonna add a different perspective to this, and this is just playing the other side. Having police in my family, I've been in situations where I didn't like the situation I've been involved with police. I felt like they were, it was all about getting numbers, making money, and I wonder how much, as an African American, do you look at it, say, I'm getting pulled over because I'm black? Because I think that, I know that happens. Absolutely. I know without a doubt it happens. But I know that it's also situational. I've been pulled over with a cop sitting in a grocery store parking lot, just sitting there, probably reading Facebook, drive by. He comes in behind me and pull over and said, I crossed the center line. He could care less if I crossed the center line. That's his excuse to pull you over to see if you got something that they really want, which is drugs, money. We had a situation in our state, the state of Tennessee, where they had an expose, it's been about 10 years ago, where they were making up bullcrap. Hey, why did you cross the center line? And they knew all the cars going west had money. They didn't care about the cars going east with drugs. They were wanting to pull over a guy with $10,000 cash, and they say, hey, that you got to be up to no good to have $10,000 worth of cash. They confiscate it, and it cost you $20,000 to get it back, and I know you're not going to fight it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of corrupt stuff in police organizations. That affect everybody, not just the black community. Because I've been pulled over a bunch saying I've crossed the center line. All they want to do is they can't pull you over and say, I want to see this, because they got that probable cause.
Well, here, I'll tell you this then. I'll give you, like, for instance, you know, I've been pulled over so many times, man. I mean, and I've never had I've never done anything wrong for a police to pull me over. I mean, well, speeding maybe, and that maybe, and the speeding I was doing was 5 miles over. You know, they gave me the ticket. Now, of course, I was in Alabama with Tennessee stickers on my car, and I was like, I'll take it. You know, that's the only time that happened. But out of the 10, 15 times I've been pulled over, the problem that I have with it is the excuse that they give me for pulling me over, and they don't have a reason to pull me over. And I don't like the way that escalated situations where they're supposed to de-escalate. You know, I'm pretty laid back with anybody until you are disrespecting me to a situation where I have no reason but to say, like for instance, when I get pulled over, I'm going to typically go, yes, sir, no, ma'am, yes, ma'am. But, you know, when you pull me over and you automatically screaming at me, telling me, you know, calling me, you know, boy, or saying something out of my name, or you automatically, you know, say stuff that don't have anything to do with the stop. And, you know, typically, you know, when an officer come up to your window, you know, they typically gonna say how you doing or something like that, or tell you what you were doing, or they're gonna ask you for your identification or anything like that. But when you do, me personally, ask the officer a question like, you know, what did I do, you know, after he done pulled me over, even though I know I didn't do anything. And I've had this more than once where they told me that my car fit the description of a car that was in a robbery. And of course, I mean, back then, you know, I mean, my cars are very nice. You know what I'm saying? I have, you know, a Benz sitting on 20s or I mean, because I like my cars to be nice. You know, I've got to the point that, you know, I don't even buy new cars anymore now. for that particular reason, because I'm being put over for the dumbest things that didn't make sense, and they always had the same excuse with me that I fit a description of someone that was in a robbery or something like that. And I always, you know, because I was raised not to question their integrity, because of what my mom taught me or whatever. But, you know, I'm afraid to even ask the officer these days now, what did I do, even though I know I didn't do anything wrong, or what was that description, so I can make sure that I'm not that description. Like, let me know if this guy was 5 foot tall, because I'm 6'3". You know, I want to know, like, you know, so, I mean, can I at least get out and let you show that I'm not that description? And the thing is, the description, and I hate to say it though, is typically the color of my skin, and it sucks. And I mean, I'm serious, guys. I mean, I've never did jack wrong for a cop to pull me over, man, other than speeding. That's been one, twice, because I mean, I'm typically going to be in the speed limit, especially if I'm going through cities or states I've never been in.
Yeah.
And it's just that I don't like that situation, the profiling or the things that they're doing, the escalation that make a nonviolent situation turn into a violent situation because they're escalating it. That is a tactic that I don't like. I don't like the cops disrespecting civilians because they have power, because, you know, a lot of people don't know that they have the same power that the cops have, typically, if you're not doing anything wrong. But most of the time that I've been in it, the cop has always tried to look down upon me as if I've done something wrong before I even, you know, let them know who I was, or before I even gave them my ID or anything like that. That's the situation that a lot of people of color has said they're tired of it. That's the part that a lot of people don't realize that people of color is talking about, because most of the people now today is to me, it's almost getting nerve-wracking where everybody is trying to associate everybody that's Black part of Black Lives Matter group. Okay, I've never been part of the group.
Me neither.
Black Lives Matter. Now, I have been part of the group of Black people. And that's the part that I'm saying, like, we got to stop worrying about what these groups doing or what the politicians doing. I am wanting to go back to what I call old school. Think for your dang on self. And that's the problem right now. I mean, social media, the media, everybody, they're giving all their false things. They're not listening to what the real problem is. That's just, to me, it's almost like they're doing that to make people forget what's really going on.
I got to step in here, Billy. I'm going to step in here. I'm going to tell you, that guy that said you've matched a profile, I would call his bluff on that, because I've had somebody do that to me, and I called down to Knoxville City, and they said we had nobody said doing this. So they just used that to pull you over. Not saying all the time, but when you said the way they talk to you, hey, I feel the same way. I've only had like 2 or 3 good interactions with a police officer. They talk down to you. They talk down to you like you're already guilty before you even been proven guilty.
Exactly.
I had one pull me over in Texas one time, and I gave him a hard time because he gave me a hard time. That's the only reason. My sister might be watching. My brother-in-law might be watching. All my police friends. Listen to me. I thought he was motioning for me to come back to the back of the car to see him, so he didn't have to walk along traffic along that whole truck. So I got out and was walking back. It looked like that's what he started screaming F-bombs at me, get on the ground. I didn't tell you to get out. And he just went off, and I'm like, whoa, where's this coming from? I didn't deserve this. I'm just trying to, you're afraid to even scratch your nose. And he was just violently yelling, and I don't appreciate that. And then he asked me if he could search my truck, and I said no. He said, you got something to hide? I said, absolutely. Everything I own, and I'm hiding it from you until you can prove to me why you need to see it.
But Bobby, I'll tell you this here, Bobby. I couldn't do none of that you just said. And I'm gonna just tell you, I mean, because I'm a threat automatically, Bobby. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3", 270 pounds, man, and that's a weapon right there, man. Like,
it's like cops are more nervous than the people they're pulling over. Like, so it's just kind of a weird situation,
It's tough, man. I mean, and I don't think it was like, I understand that police officers have a tough job, man. They do, because I'll be honest with you, I couldn't do it because I know what they go through. They go through a lot, man. It's tough, but you can't treat every civilian the exact same way, man. I mean, I mean, I understand that, you got to protect yourself, and I get it, but you got to evaluate every situation differently the way they taught you. They didn't teach you to say every civilian is a threat. Yes, every civilian can be a threat. But if you go up to a car and this man is, yes, sir, and you, or no, sir, and you, and, apologizing or whatever they did, and all you can do is talk at the top of your lungs or belittle the person that you pulled over. I've seen a lot of things, man. I mean, even back when I played in college, guys, I mean, I've been to situations like, for instance, I used to always hate this, let's say if we go out to a club or something, and at the end of the night, it's time to leave or whatever, and, you're on the sidewalk, and these cops, instead of these cops de-escalating, trying to, do crowd control and get everybody out, these cops are screaming at the top of their lungs, automatically saying, if you don't get the F out of here right effing now, you're going to jail. I'm like, hold on. You saying this to drunk people that's been drinking, that's not thinking right. You're automatically trying to escalate a situation, because if you're saying this to somebody that's not in their right mind, or like drunk or whatever, they'll take that as a threat. And now you got this guy that's already heated, and you say this to this person, and this person says something like that same thing that you just said them, what they're allowed to say. Don't be effing talking to me like that. I don't have to go nowhere. This is a public sidewalk, and then click, they lock you up because you said that.
It's something with the badge, man. It's kind of like an athlete having that NBA honor, that NFL honor. It's like you kind of look down on other people. Like, I got a question for you. You said you had family you had people in your family that are cops. How are they off the court? Like once they take this badge off, are they a lot nicer? Like, do they feel like a human being? Like, not all cops. Let's get it right. Most cops are, pretty good people. They get nervous in situations though, and I just think the badge sometimes.
The cops that I know and that I'm related to, and the ones that I know, they're all good people. Now, I put a limit to that because I put a limit to. I'm not going to name any names, but if you're willing, if it's okay with you, if you can sleep at night, and it's okay to violate somebody, that violating somebody's rights is okay to do in order to catch bad guys. It's like our Constitution was founded on, it's better to let 10 guilty go free than one innocent to be wrongly convicted. Something about maybe I'm crazy, but I don't like violating of my rights are sacred. There's a sheriff in Florida. I'm not going to name any names. I had a relative, an in-law that worked for him, and he didn't like this. And when I found out he didn't like this tactic, he became my best friend because I liked him. They have a deal where it's all about numbers. This sheriff says if we pull over enough people, we're going to catch bad guys. I mean, that's a noble goal, is to catch bad guys. But they took it to the extreme, and this has actually been duplicated all over the country. And supposedly this particular sheriff, who is a media whore in Central Florida, actually started this, where pull you over for a tag light. Yeah, they don't care that it's harassing normal people. That all they care about is about numbers. Pull over enough people, they're going to run into warrants. They're going to run into this, run into that.
It's bigger than cops. Then that tells you that it's the people behind the scenes. I'm talking, like, it seems to me that it's more politicians and the people who are writing the laws, right? I mean, if it's set up for numbers to win, and we have some laws that allow the cops this ability, I mean, I'm well aware that politicians make a lot of money from prisons and filling those up. It gets distributed to the banks and corporate America and through tax and through subsidies. But I wonder if we should target the politicians more than the cops now. Like, hearing these stories, it just seems like these cops aren't the ones writing these laws, or they're victims of the same situations we are, behind their own bars, behind their own system. They have to go get numbers or they lose out, right?
Yeah, I don't want to sound like catfish is down on the police, because there's no way I would go do this job for $40,000 a year and be shot at, and all the things that they have to go through. I'd be trigger happy. You move, I don't care. I'm going home to see my family. I would not be a good cop. I would be one that would be in jail for homicide, because I would not be a good cop. And I don't know that if you had, and we're talking about how they have to de-escalate the situation. I wonder how much of their job really needs to have maybe some mental health, maybe more vacation time, where they're not so stressed out and ticked off all the time, where they're agitated by every little thing. Because I haven't had very many good interactions as far as the way they talk to me. They just the way, I just don't like the way I'm talked to. That bothers me. But I'm wondering how much of it just needs to be more awareness, because I've been seeing a lot of great stories on social media since the Floyd situation of some good cops. And I know they're out there, and I think they're getting a bad rap. The pendulum swung too far the other way. And I do think there needs to be maybe some sort of not working these guys so hard, because one thing that one of my relatives says is they're working 60 hours a week. And I said, hold up, Buttercup. I drive 70, but I understand 60 hours is a lot to be dealing with, having that vest on and that buckle. I'd be a bad cop because I'm fat, and I drive with my pants undone because my gut. I'd have to go chase somebody, have to put my belt on with my gun and everything. I wouldn't be able to catch them. But they have to go through a lot,
Yeah.
and they're scrutinized every little thing they do. They're suspended without pay or with pay or this and that. And I think that's good. The investigations didn't used to be that way. There was a buddy system. Now with the spotlight shined on them, they're having to do things a lot different now. But
yeah, I remember me wanting to just run for governor of Tennessee and president. For the last 3-4 years, that's what I've been gearing towards. And now I'm learning that, running for president just isn't for me. Like I'm not the right guy, so I bring this back to the cops. I don't know, more than anything, I don't know if I can fight for a system that appreciates numbers of putting people in prisons. I mean, I couldn't reward myself for representing the injustice system. And I'm not saying everything is bad. And that's why I also, say that I'm not sure if it's the cops now that you say this. I mean, I think there are a lot of good cops, and they're just put in this position where, similar to athletes, we're forced in this position to jump on social media and take on, do all these cool things that excite people and, make our coach happy, make our owner happy. Like, this is what cops have to do. That's what the president, believe it or not, I'm not sure how much power even the president has when a system was already set up to be this way. So these things that we're complaining about, it was set up like this, So I'm not sure if I'd try to go be the governor or be the president, it'd be worth, having a guy beat me over the head like these cops are getting beat over the head for acting the way they are or not acting. So I feel for both sides, man. I really do.
Yes. And that's what I've been saying, man. I've been saying it the whole time, man. And here, like I never like comparing things, but sometimes I try to use illustrations to make people understand what I'm trying to mean. So, for instance, all this stuff when people, talk about football players, with the helmet to helmet stuff, they can get hurt if they do this here, they can do that there. But, that's one thing I tell you this about every athlete that play in the sport. They know the risk before they do it. Especially the older you get, the risk that you're getting yourself into. If you play basketball for a long time, you're going to have bad knees and that back going to get messed up because you're jumping up and down the court. You know that. Football players, they know there's a chance they're going to have some brain damage if they continue to hit in collisions like that. Because guess what? They know one thing about their situation. They know what they signed up for. And I'll tell you this here. Police officers know the exact same thing. They know what they're signed up for. And they don't want you to feel sorry for them because they know what they sign up for. And that's the problem today with like social media, the news media. They have yet to put on TV or the internet real police officers telling their side of the story why they really doing the job. Don't back me because I am in this uniform. Back me because I am doing my job. But what I signed up with, don't just talk about what my brother over here did the wrong stuff. Let everybody know what I'm doing right too. Because I got teammates right now that's on police forces that'll tell you they ain't walking off the force because they saw what the cop did wrong and he's in trouble. Then they know they still got a job to do. The problem right now is the media is just showing all the bad cops right now. I get it. The problem, they finally letting the world see what the bad cops are doing. And politics, they always do this time of year when it's almost time for elections and stuff.
Yeah.
They've been doing this since I was yay high. I wish they just start putting in what I call good publicity. Let's say, can somebody do some happy stuff one time? So, hey, can they show me that the cops are target practicing or something besides the bad videos? Because there's good cops out there. Everybody is is against like the what I call the real, what I heard what Kaepernick was doing. No one has realized that, but the people that are losing money for what he was doing now because he was right the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like, it wasn't because of the flag. And I hate doing it because I'm never going to explain it to nobody else because they know the situation. They don't want to hear the situation.
Exactly.
And until they realize it was really going on, it's going to stay the same thing because people that are not realizing what people of color have went through because they never been through a situation like that. I hated to say this here because it's like that. I understand that all lives matter. Get it. Hear me out. Until people put the word BLACK on the word, on the thing lives matter, it became a problem. Now, if it would have just said lives matter, I don't think it'd have been a bigger issue than it is because they put the word black on it. Stop worrying about that there. Hey, all lives matter. Yes, I get it, guys. I mean, I hate politics. I hate it. I hate politics. I'm gonna sit here and tell you the truth. I hate politics. And Bobby will tell you, I've always told him this here. I think they can fix it with the president situations or the Republican and Democrat situation. I always said, hey, whoever win the president's side, whoever loses it becomes the vice president.
Seriously.
And they always have to have some type of way to figure it out. They always fighting all the time until they get it right. That's the way I always looked at politics. And I'm not a political man because I don't have a side. I mean, because I like stuff on both sides. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, same here.
I love it. So that's why I've never talked politics, man.
Yeah, I definitely understand. And I wonder how much the politics playing into this Black Lives Matter movement. Like, I feel as if people could, take a step back from just the black and realize that this is a war for good. And we have an opportunity to help, animals and women and children, through education, through, some of the abundance that animals are going through some of the oppression that women have to face still to this day. You know what I'm saying? So we're dealing with a system that's not only against blacks, but also so many other people. I wonder why more don't, consider it, deeper than the Black Lives Matter movement. But, I know you just said you don't want to talk about politics, but how much is it? Like, how much does this weigh into it? You said it always comes up election year. And I also see a consciousness wave too. So, there are two ways this could go. You have the white supremacy side and, you have, black supremacy. Then the third way would be one love, which is what we represent. But, you have those right now who are using Christianity and using religion to justify killing and justify segregating. And, as a guy who understands biblical history and ancient history, I can see where in the Old Testament people would justify these things. But if we're talking biblical and we're talking ancient history, I wonder if, there will be another resurrection where, the KKK who used, that whole religious war to spark, I wonder if there will be another religious war and how deep does that play into, this election movement, or will it go away after elections? I'm a bit nervous. Will black supremacy rise? I'm not for either one. So just weird times, man. It's weird times. This would be a conversation for another show for sure.
Oh, we're gonna have plenty of conversations, man. We got plenty of shows to go, man. We just started the car back, man. We finally fixed the car. We're gonna get all these cylinders rolling, man.
We just got the rims painted. Billy got his rims painted out in Chattanooga, man. They are lit.
That's what I do, Jarnell, man. I don't buy new cars no more, man. I just paint my wheels now. It look like a brand new car, dog.
I like that old school, baby. I got to put that one. I got to write that down.
Yes,
Good one.
sir.
Yeah,
I
this
agree.
could go on and on. Like you said, yeah,
Yeah, most
there's
definitely,
some
man.
really good cops. I watched some body cam. Something Billy was saying, how a lot of the good cops aren't on TV. But
Mm-hmm.
I was watching a video of what do you call that? Where they had the camera on, a body camera,
Mm-hmm.
where they were doing this guy that was running from them, and
Mm-hmm.
how things happen so fast. And he was able to reach for a gun, and you had no idea he had a gun where he had it. And I'm like, man,
Mm-hmm.
that happened so fast. That training that they were having, where the cop had
Mm-hmm.
to recognize, is this a gun or is this a wallet? You know,
Yeah.
and you don't, man. It happens so fast. That's like I say, Catfish wouldn't be a good cop because you reach for a pack of bubble gum, and I think you might have a gun. I would not be a good cop. And like you said, you know what you're signing up for when you sign up for it. That's why I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
sign up for it. I would be a horrible cop.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible.
Yeah, it makes sense, man. It
I don't
sucks.
reach for nothing.
Good
I put it
time.
like this: I don't reach
Yeah.
for nothing. I mean, I haven't reached for nothing. Even when I was a kid, I didn't reach for nothing. I was
Mm-hmm.
told, "Hey, stand still like a statue until they tell you to do something."
This,
They don't tell. But now, don't do nothing that they want you to do that you don't feel comfortable doing. Just
yeah,
don't move. Then, if you don't
Yeah.
think you understand what they're saying, don't do nothing at all
yeah.
until you realize what they need you to do.
And maybe
This new
someday.
gen a bit different. No, I was just gonna say this new gen is a bit different though, man. They aren't as scared. Like I know previous generations they were told to, calm down. Like whenever you see a white guy, put your head down almost. Like literally, that's what my parents somewhat taught me, when dealing with cops and dealing with, whites in higher positions. This is even the 90s, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
they were told this back in the 60s, but now this Gen Z X culture, they not scared of anything, man. They'll go and fight a cop, like literally. It's I can see it like decaying. That power that cops have over the minds of people is literally decaying each generation. I'm a bit, nervous. I like thinking in terms of the future. But what were you about to say?
Well, I don't remember what I was about to say. I don't. Well, we're going to be one of the things I want for Volunteer Roadshow is not only a platform for athletes or anybody that wants to get into some sort of sports media. This is what it's for, and I want to have voices from both sides or all sides. I don't want this to be an echo chamber. I want to be able to hear, what's the other side say? How do they feel?
Yeah.
And come together, and where we just
Exactly.
listen to each other, and it's not just a one-sided conversation. And I don't want it to just be talking. I want to be able to back up the talk with doing, because you can go listen, turn on the radio, and listen to this stuff 24/7 till you're tired of it. I want to do something about it. You talked about
There you
going to
go.
go see Rick Barnes. I'd like to go right there with you, me and Billy, and let's see what we can do. As with the university.
There you go.
And I know Billy can get you in with Fulmer because he got me in with Fulmer. And that's the reason why I want to lose weight, because he got me into Philip Fulmer's office. We standing up taking a picture. Let me tell you, Jarnell, taking a picture next. Philip Fulmer's in the middle. Billy's on the other side. I'm there happy. I said, I can't believe I'm in Coach Fulmer's office. And I get out of the car, and I can't wait to look at it and text it to everybody. And I'm looking at it, and I said, man, I'm fatter than Phil Fulmer.
That's funny, man.
So I said, I got to lose some weight. I didn't know I was bigger than Phil Fulmer.
Jarnell, don't listen to Catfish, man. He ain't gonna lose no weight, man. He's like soon as he get off this show, he has a little Debbie oatmeal cookie right now.
That's funny, man. This is exciting, man. I'm so glad we can do this show.
And we're gonna be announcing like a show schedule. I'm gonna be getting with Jarnell and Billy and talk about the content, what days a week he's available, and getting some guest hosts involved. I've got a couple of great ideas you might want to be involved with. Derek Furlow's one of them. I may ring his bell.
Nice.
Derek?
Yeah, I like Derek.
Yeah,
he helped manage the camp that I run.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. He got me Rico McCoy. I mean, he loves what we're doing over here, and he's got a great platform, and I think we could help him out too.
Yeah,
But,
I agree.
So
I agree.
anyway, we're gonna get on out of here. You got anything you want to say, Billy? Have you cooked any chicken or ribs? What's going on for the fourth?
And hey, Bobby, you know I cook daily, man. I think I'm got some ribs in the refrigerator, and now I'm about to go smoke them.
Well,
Love it. Love it.
I'm gonna be down there pretty soon, and I'm gonna show you how to cook some ribs, Billy.
Okay. We shall see, Bobby.
Now, Billy is a good cook. He knows how to work that grill. He knows how to work it. But anyway, we're going to get on out of here, guys. We're glad Jarnell's on board. He's going to be helping us, hopefully full-time with us, and at least part-time on the Volunteer Roadshow. He's on the website. I already got his bio and his picture up there. Everything's going really good. But we're going to get on out of here. I appreciate it. Y'all know what's coming next. Thanks for tuning in. Go Vols. Volunteer Roadshow is fixing to get lit, and it's showtime now. I promise you that.